Okay, the next step in our journey here is to understand data types. So we know that we can assign data to variables. So what are these data and what do we work with here? Um, and there are four core data types that you should be familiar with in Python. And again, this is very simple, basic stuff, so we can go through this quickly. The first one are integers, so they're whole numbers, 24, 35. The second one's floats, which are numbers with a comma, so 7.4, 2.5. Then there's strings, which is text, and one data type that we haven't talked about yet, but that is very important for logic operations, is true and false. So true, that's not a string, but that's an actual keyword, and Python will interpret that this is a true C value and this is a false C value, and it can also be associated with 0 and 1, but we'll come to that later. So let's go through this quickly here in the code examples, so you can play around with that, change that, but here we just declare variables with different integers, and later on you can use that to do basic mathematical operations like addition, multiplication, things like that. Very simple. Floats work very much the same way. The core underneath this, they look very different, but they take also different types of memory. But you can combine them, so you can multiply a float with an integer with a float. So they are interchangeable in Python. Then next are strings. So the most important thing is strings. They are bordered by these brackets, so you can use these doubles or you can use single ones as well, single quotes. Some people prefer one or the other. Both of them work, but you need this. You need this to flag to the program that this is a string. And another thing to say that is important in Python. Python has a UTF-8 encoding for strings, so you can use quite a large variety of characters. So here, for example, I'm giving you a Chinese character, an emoji. This is Arabic, so it's got a large variety, a lot of emojis as well that you can use, and they will all be interpreted as strings and work very much in the same way as the basic Roman letters. Finally, the boolean, so something is true or something is false. So you can see that here. So you don't need the quotes here because these are actual keywords. These are not strings. So that's important to realize, and you can use that later on to program logic and to use them for, you know, if something is true, you do that. If it's false, then you do the other thing. One last thing to say about data types: if you're confused, you don't know anymore what what are the data types, what is sample count, what have I done here? Is it a float, is it an integer, is it a string? You can always check using the type statement, the type method. So if you put type and then in brackets sample count, it will print you out this sample count is of the class integer. And that can be quite useful when you have a lot of different variables and you forgot what they were, then you can check in that way. So that works quite well. And as always, there's a Google Colab notebook, so I'm giving you a lot to read, but again, you know, this is quite repetitive. For most of you, this will be quite familiar, so you don't need to work through that bit by bit, but have a look. There's a lot of useful information in there, and play around with this stuff because it gets quite useful to be familiar with these things and be able to use them efficiently in your programs.